Everybody's been up, awake, and moving. Welcome. Good morning. And welcome to UUC. Hope everyone had a wonderful Pride Month. This month has been full of firsts for our congregation. Kaleidoscope Collective, who is affiliated with UUC, our members follow varying faiths, traditions, spiritual paths, and all allies are welcome to our meetings. Had our first Pride booth this year. Stone Action Group also had their first Juneteenth booth this year. So again, to everyone that helped us out, thank you so much. So for those who may not know me, my name is Brian McNemar. I prefer they, them. And today I'm serving as our worship associate. We're so glad that came out our way today. And if you're new to UU or our congregation, we were founded in 1953. And we believe in the principles of independence, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice. If you ever forget those, take a look up here. So whether you're new to UU or have been part of us for years, let's celebrate a precious time together, and let's welcome each other with the welcome song.
Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
For announcements today, I'm going to remind everyone to check your flyers. That should be with the pamphlets. And we do have an upcoming UC trivia. It is with Bob. Everyone is welcome. We will make teams of 4 or bring your own. The team trivia involves teams answering trivia questions and earning points for correct answers. The team with the highest score at the end wins. Bob will act as a host, read the questions, and judge the answers. Teams can collaborate to discuss answers and write them down. Wine, soft drinks, and snacks will be available with prizes. This is a fundraiser for UUC. Love donations of $15 are appreciated. When is it? Saturday, July 26th. It is 7 p.m. and it will be here in this room. So at this time, I'd like to invite Maria up to light our chalice. So please join me as we read the unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of our faith, and service its law. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. So at this time, I'd like to remind everyone to rise again, if they are willing and able, for Days of Rage and Days of Hope, a Pride hymn by Amanda Udis Kessler. And don't worry, this time y'all don't have to dance to it.
This is a new hymn, so we're going to go over the melody first, and then we'll do the first verse again. So, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Days of rage and days of hope, days of claiming dignity in a world that fostered fear, days of daring to be free. So today we offer thanks for the ones who raise a din, challenging a world of hate. 3 nights at the Stonewall Inn. Okay, I'm going to play the introduction and then we're going to sing the first verse again. Days of rage and days of hope, days of claiming dignity in a world that fostered fear, days of daring to be free. So today we offer thanks for the ones who raise a din, challenging a world of hate. 3
Let's take this time to connect with one another and share thoughts and vibes from our hearts. Here are the joys and concerns in our hearts today. The joys: in a bold move, the NFL donated $100,000 to the Trevor Project in support of the LGBTQI community. For anyone who might not know, the LGBTQ part of the crisis hotline was defunded by our current administration and bad idea factories. So happy 52nd birthday to Jonathan tomorrow, 6:30, and happy belated 50th birthday to Maria.
Canada opened their hotline in the U.S.
They did?
when that happened. Yes, they did.
Okay.
I'll share it.
So for anyone online, apparently Canada has opened up their hotline. Do we have the phone number for them? We can.
I don't have my phone with me, or I would.
Okay.
It's on my Facebook.
All right.
Please friends with me on Facebook. It's every time.
Okay. It's available for anyone searching online.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, and it'll apparently be sent out in Google groups too. So the third joy is there was a great hike yesterday in Canal State Forest. Join us the last Saturday of each month if you're interested. And the fourth one is Billy and I moved into our first apartment together, Casee. So. And I do have a joy of my own that I would like to share that's not written down. Two people in this room that I know of, possibly more, were arrested protesting at Shelley-Moore Capital's house building this week. So one of them is a worship Canadian, the other one was a town hall member, which I'm not going to share his name, but he's here today. So, city council from them, right? All right. So in concerns, the Supreme Court is compromised, and this has 2 exclamation marks after it. So. The second one is the loss of Senator of Minnesota, Melissa Hortman, and her husband, Mark, and their dog, Gil. They died to hate-filled murder. The third one is the loss of Bill Myers, an esteemed journalist in the 20th and 21st century. May all of them rest in peace. And the fourth one is my dog, Scout, is sick, which means I didn't sleep much, but they are here. So, hearts, vibes, feelings goes out to all of them. For all the joys that are shared, may they be multiplied, and for all the concerns that were voiced or unvoiced, may they be diminished. So, Y.M.C.A helps support numerous community-minded projects throughout the year, and helps provide a safe and welcoming place for everyone, including Casee Collective. These endeavors are funded in part with the weekly offerings that we take during the services. If you'd like to help support these endeavors, feel free to make an offering to plates as the usher comes by, and there should be some offerings for those online if they want to donate through the website. Breathe in slowly. Let the air fill your lungs as you breathe in. Breathe out slowly and let the air leave your lungs as I read the following quote. The Quiet Power Within Us by J.E. Aberthy, Jr. Just as we need to be alone at times to put things right, so do we need to be with others to love and be loved. The great social urge within us is as powerful as that separateness, that uniqueness that gives us identity. Let us look within ourselves with honesty and truth. We shall find there a personal center important to who we are. We shall find there is something held in common with those about us, family, friends, neighbors, in ever-widening circles, until we find which we have in common with all people. Something irreparably human, something completely natural. This is the center of all religion, all love, all concern for others, and is the center for all personal growth. May these moments be a personal time for you, a time for that person within you who feels at one with humanity, with nature, and one with the universe that was, is, and shall be. Our guest speaker today is Casey Jones, who is one of the co-leaders for Kaleidoscope Collective, and they're here to speak about the history of Pride, and at this time I would like to invite him up.
See, I don't feel very safe on this thing. Okay. I'm a big guy. I'm a big guy, okay? I don't.
Okay, Maddie's coming.
Okay, let me back up. All right, that's better. Okay, so I've been at a policy thing all weekend where I learned to write and pitch policy. So I wrote this last night from 10 till like 3 in the morning. So go me. So if some of it's not coherent, sorry. Okay, so my name is Casey. I'm a non-binary trans masc, and my pronouns are they, he. And I teach at Capitol. I teach social studies there, freshman world studies. And I'm part of Kaleidoscope Collective, the LGBTQ plus group here. And today I'm going to talk about the history of Pride Month. In a world like we have today where people are constantly asking, what is Pride? What about straight Pride? What about white Pride? Why doesn't this specific group get a Pride Month? Why do you have to shove your sexuality in my face? It's important to look at the history of Pride Month and why it even exists in the first place. Because to many people's shock, Pride Month and Pride celebrations are not to celebrate our sexuality, but to celebrate that we exist and to celebrate the people who fought for our rights to exist, love who we love, and express our gender however we please. It is also important to remember through my speech, sermon, lesson, whatever you want to call it, that Pride is not just a party. It started as a political movement and resistance against tyranny, and it still is. So imagine that it's illegal for you to love who you love, or that wearing the clothes that you are comfortable wearing is a crime, and you can get arrested for that. You can't get a job for it. You can't find housing for it. You are essentially, who you are is illegal. For many LGBTQ people, it was not that long ago when that was happening. For up until fairly recently, homosexuality and gender nonconformity was criminalized and pathologized. We were looked at as criminals and psychologically abnormal just for loving who we love and wearing clothes that make us feel comfortable and happy. According to Gleason, LGBTQ plus written history dates all the way back to the 2nd century in 130 when Antonius, I don't know, a 19-year-old man who was the Roman Emperor Hadrian's favorite lover, mysteriously dies in the Roman province of Egypt. After finding out about Antonius's death, Hadrian created a cult that gave Antonius the status of a god and built several sculptures of him throughout the Roman Empire. This is something new that I actually learned last night when writing this, and I just can't help think that it might actually be the gayest thing I've ever learned about. Probably a super duper close tie to reading and bawling over the book The Song of Achilles, because like your gay lover died and you made him into a god. That's pretty gay. So even before and after that, our history, even if it's not written, is everywhere. It is in every corner of the world, in books and music and art. We have scientists, politicians, soldiers, housewives, anyone and anywhere you can imagine. There is LGBTQ plus history there that we know and possibly don't know about. I mean, our country's founders looked to a man who was kicked out of the Prussian military for being gay. He was kicked out for, I can't remember what the exact cause was, but like he was gay and they kicked him out for lewd behavior. And so Washington found out about him and was like, hey, will you come fix our military? And he was like, well, I'm gay. And they were like, I don't care. And he came and he fixed our military, to get into shape for the Revolutionary War. A gay man trained our first military soldiers for the war that made us a country. He literally taught them how to slay. So between there and 1950, there were a few notable LGBTQ plus accomplishments and noteworthy moments, such as in 1886, Y.M.C.A, I'm not entirely sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but Google said that's how it's pronounced. A Zuni Native American from New Mexico was received by the U.S. President Grover Cleveland as a Zuni princess. They are an accomplished weaver, potter, and the most famous, I couldn't find the pronunciation of this, Ihamana, like I-H-A-M-A-N-A. So if I mispronounce that, I'm sorry, which is a traditional Zuni gender role, which is now described as mixed gender or two-spirit. There were also some arrests made just based on people's sexuality, laws passed banning sodomy, and books published about LGBTQ plus topics. In 1950, the first lasting gay organization, the Mattachine Society, was formed in Los Angeles, and they refer to themselves as a homophile group. The group existed for about a decade before splitting into smaller entities. So according to the San Francisco Digital Archive, the name refers to the medieval Mattachines troops, which were troops of men who traveled from village to village, taking up the cause of social justice in their ballads and dramas. Years before women's consciousness-raising groups, Mattachine provided lesbians and gay men a similar opportunity to share openly for the first time their feelings and experiences. Due to the group being accused of being a communist group at the peak of McCarthy's communist witch hunt, the group then attempted to create anti-communist resolutions at their conventions, and unfortunately they failed. So the original founders, being scared of, the group being put on trial of being a communist group, they resigned and turned the movement over to conservatives, which turned it into the complete opposite of what the founders wanted the group to be. They brought in like psychologists and stuff that would basically talk about essentially how it was bad to be gay, and like a bunch of other stuff. So, started out as like a pro-LGBTQ movement and then ended up as a not so pro-LGBTQ movement. So in 1955, also in San Francisco, the daughters of Bilitis, I'm sorry, which is considered to be the first lesbian rights organization, was founded. The group is conceived as a social alternative to lesbian bars, which were considered illegal and thus subject to raids and police harassment. So according to the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum, Rose Bamberger, I'm so sorry, was a Filipino woman working in a brush manufacturing factory, suggested gathering At the time, police often raided San Francisco bars where lesbians met and socialized, and Bamberger wanted a group to talk and dance together and just hang out. The new members named their group after Bilitis, a lesbian character invented by French poet Pierre Louis. The daughters of Bilitis members had different goals for the group. Journalists Del Martin and Phyllis Lyon wanted to become activists and improve conditions for lesbians, while some others wanted to stay secret, which was a feeling shared by fellow working class women in the group because they could lose their jobs. Bamberger and her partner Rosemary Sleepin, I'm so sorry, left the group just 6 months after the first meeting. Still, they remained on the mailing list as the organization quickly grew. So by 1960, women had founded chapters in Rhode Island, New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. According to many other sources, this group, along with other LGBTQ plus activism and social groups, faced many challenges being surveilled by the local police, the FBI, and the CIA, which explains the anxiety and disagreement between the founders about going public and being active in the public eye. In 1956, the Daughters of Bilitis started publishing The Ladder, which was the first nationally distributed lesbian magazine in the United States, which was discontinued in 1972. During the mid-1960s, societal conflicts over feminism and homosexuality began to cause strife in the group, which eventually lost traction and petered out by the end of the 1970s. So then in 1962, Illinois became the first U.S. state to remove sodomy law from its code. And then between 1962 and 1969, there were a few riots and demonstrations protesting discrimination. In 1963, the first gay rights demonstration in the USA took place on September 19th at the Whitehall Induction Center in New York City, protesting against discrimination in the military. And in 1966, the Compton cafeteria riot broke out at a San Francisco eatery when trans women were denied service and arrested for breaking gendered clothing laws. So now we have arrived at the infamous Stonewall riots, which happened 55 years ago as of yesterday. So imagine that it's June 28th, 1969. You're out in Greenwich Village at a bar run by the mafia. And you are in clothes you're comfortable in and with friends you love, then all of a sudden the cops start raiding the bar. And typically what would have happened is, the cops would have started beating everyone up, you would have gotten out, and you would have waited on the sidewalk to be arrested. That's how it went. However, that's not how it happened that night. So yes, the cops came and they routinely did what they did. They came, beat everyone up, everyone was trying to get out, but they started fighting back. Blah, la, la, la. This exact night in Greenwich Village in NYC is why we have Pride Month in June, to celebrate those who fought back against the tyrannical police and policies. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of this specific riot. So in 1960s, homosexuality was classified as a mental disorder. So many places had laws against against LGBTQ plus relationships and gender nonconformity. So due to this, a lot of people lived their lives in secret. New York City, however, was home to a large population of LGBTQ plus people and a thriving gay nightlife. The gay bars were where people could be themselves without fear and let go of their fears for a few hours before they were forced to return to their forced heteronormative lives the next day. New York City was also home to many who were associated with organized crime, who saw profit in catering to gay clientele since it was illegal for gay bars to have a liquor license. So then came the mafia, who would run these gay bars and have the cops on their payroll so the cops would look the other way. The Stonewall Inn was barely a legal bar. So located in Greenwich Village, the heart of gay life in New York at that time, its patrons were among the most marginalized members of New York's LGBTQ community, including underaged and unhoused individuals, people of color, and drag performers. Back in this day, if you were LGBTQ, you would probably, and you came out like as a kid or you got figured out, you probably ran away from home, and a lot of them ended up migrating to the bigger cities like San Francisco and New York City and Chicago, and that's why you hear a lot of this about New York City and San Francisco and Chicago and all of that, because that's where they went. So this club was more than a dance bar, more than just a gay gathering place. Wrote Dick Leitsch, Leitsch. I'm sorry. The first gay journalist to document the events, it catered largely to a group of people who are not welcome in or cannot afford other places of homosexual gathering. On the night of the raid, police arrived intending to follow their usual pattern of seizing the bar's liquor and arresting its patrons. But this time, the patrons resisted, and resistance broke out as the officers tried to calm the crowd. In a spontaneous outpouring of frustration, patrons and onlookers began yelling and throwing objects at the police. One person fighting for her rights was Marsha P. Johnson, a black transgender woman and activist who frequented the bar and is considered one of the leaders of the rebellion. Although some claim Johnson threw the first brick at the police, she maintained she didn't get to the bar until the melee was in full swing. There is little agreement about the events of that night, aside from the fact that patrons violently clashed with the police. Newspaper accounts, oral history, and reports conflict with one another. So as things were getting out of the police's control, the officers retreated inside and barricaded themselves in the building. And I have read that they had people with them, but then I also read that they didn't, so I don't know. The protesters busted through the barricade, caught the building on fire by throwing Molotovs, and physically fought the police. And it took hours for the police to get the street cleared that night. However, it's not over yet. Protesters came back, and the clashes lasted for days afterwards. So some key figures in the Stonewall riots were Marsha P. Johnson, a black trans woman that is said to have thrown the first brick, but stated she did not. So Sylvia Rivera, a Latina trans woman, and according to the National Women's History Museum, Rivera said in an interview in 2001 that while she did not throw the first Molotov cocktail, at the police, she did throw the second. For 6 nights, the 17-year-old Rivera refused to go home or sleep, saying, "I'm not missing a minute of this, it's the revolution." This woman was 17 at the time of the riot. She had run away from home at 11 because her grandma her grandma, so both of her parents, her dad died. I'm trying to remember what I read last night. Her dad died, and her mom just kind of left her. So her grandma caught her dressing up like in dresses and stuff and beat her, and she ran away after she was expelled at school suspended or expelled from school for getting in a fight or something. I can't exactly remember. But she got expelled or suspended from school, and she ran away at 11 years old and somehow ends up in New York City and meets Marsha P. Johnson, and Marsha P. Johnson became a mother to this woman, like a mother type thing. And at the time of that, Marsha P. Johnson was 17. So, a few years later, I can't do the math. 6 years later, so Marsha P. Johnson was 23 and Rivera was 17. Thank you. So they're out there fighting, doing whatever they wanted. She had run away from home at 11 and made friends with the then 17-year-old Marsha P. Johnson. I'm sorry. So they're out there fighting. There's also other people. So according to the National Women's History Museum, Johnson, like many other transgender women, felt that they had nothing to lose in these riots. They were not only angered by police, but also the oppression and fear they experienced every day in the wake of the raid. Johnson and Rivera led a series of protests. So another key figure is Stormy, it has a little thing. Stormy Day, I'm so sorry. De Larverie, do you know? I don't know. Yeah, that one. I can't do the thingy. A mixed drag king from New Orleans, who was widely believed to have thrown the first punch at the Stonewall riots. She spent the 50s and 60s as the only male impersonator, now known as a drag king, in the Jewel Box Review, the period's only racially integrated drag troupe. So the impacts. Am I missing one? I'm missing someone. Okay, hold on, let me check my phone. Because I know I'm missing somebody. Oh, nope, it's in the next. Sorry. Okay, so impact of Stonewall riots. So the Stonewall riots sparked demand for LGBTQ rights and also started the modern LGBTQ plus rights movement. In response to the riots, activists started the Gay Liberation Front on July 24th, 1969. This group was the incubator for a more radical approach to the LGBTQ plus rights movement. A year after the parade, Christopher Street Liberation Day happened, which is now recognized as the first Pride March. 5.5 decades later, the riots are still looked at as a firing point for the LGBTQ plus rights movement. Even after the riots, Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera went on to create a program for homeless LGBTQ plus people and did so much more until Johnson passed in 1992. Her death was ruled by the New York City police as a suicide because her body was found floating in the Hudson River. But it's speculated that it was a murder because all of her friends were like, she's happy, she used happiness as a weapon against, all of this stuff, and, we can't, whatever. So, suicide, murder, 1960s, 70s, trans person, you do the math. One person I also forgot to mention and had to come back in right here was Miss Major Griffin Gracie, who has actually come to this right here UUC to talk to a small selective group of people that I was lucky to be a part of about her activism work during and after the Stonewall riots and her book Miss Major Speaks. Miss Major is a Black transgender activist, survivor of the prison and hospital system of New York City, and according to her website, her global legacy of activism is rooted in her own experiences as she continues her work to uplift transgender women of color, particularly those who have survived incarceration and police brutality. America went on to have the AIDS epidemic in the 80s, which was awful in its own rights, and many more LGBTQ plus historical movements and time periods after the riots. Over the years, when people have reported on the riots up until recent years, the fact that many of the LGBTQ plus community and movements many leaders of the LGBTQ plus community and movements We're not white has been ignored. So I want to take a minute to make sure it is very clear that Black, Indigenous people of color, or BIPOC for short, are the people that have gone out and made shit happen for us. They're the ones that have mostly gone out there and thrown the punches, thrown the Molotovs, and rumored to have thrown the bricks. So it is important that we give them that moment of recognition for getting the shit done. We celebrate Pride in June in remembrance of the Stonewall riots, the revolutionary turning point for the LGBTQ+ rights movement. We celebrate Pride in remembrance of those who put their well-being on the line that day because they were tired of being abused and discriminated against just because of who they were. Pride was not and never has been just a fun, colorful party. It is a show of resistance and being formidable against almost constant discrimination. To me, Pride Month is a month where I can go and be fully myself and witness my wonderful, colorful, diverse community. I see people come out to be themselves regardless of the adversity we've been through in the past. This year, Pride was something super special to me because it meant we survived another year. It meant that regardless of the bills and executive orders passed and people who tried to demonize us and tell everyone that we are horrible, unnatural people, we get to tell them that we are here and we aren't going anywhere. We are a colorful, quirky bunch of people, and our history can't be erased, and we will not go anywhere, and no matter what they try, we will still exist.
Thank you, Casey. All right. At this time, I'd like to everyone to rise again, voice, body, and spirit for "We Walk in Love" by Deanna
Witkowski.
Thank you.
We walk in love, united in purpose. We join our hands and lift up our voice. We speak the truth with strength and compassion, resounding with hope, with courage and joy. We cry for peace and rights for all people. We welcome friends from far and near. We fight for those whose voices are silenced, resisting in faith until all are free. We dream a world of justice and kindness. We build a bridge, creating new paths. We march with joy as all walk together, embracing each one. We boldly stand.
For our closing words today, our time in this place may have ended, but our connection to each other in this community remains. Together, we may walk the path of justice, speak the words of love, live the selfless deed, and trod gently upon the earth, and fill the world with compassion. Until we meet again, blessed be. And for our